that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine. Hello, and welcome to The Lady of Caladan, Book 2 of the, of Caladan Dune review. Again, this takes place a year before the movie. If you can't tell, I'm not really a big fan of this one. Which is sad to say, because I've been a pretty big proponent of liking these prequels. But this one kind of sucks. Focuses a lot on Jessica, which it was alright. There's a lot of Paul, which I just don't care about that much because all of his important stuff happens next year in Dune. The Leto and Jackson stuff's the most interesting, but it's also like the smallest part of this book. So I'm very mixed. I feel like this trilogy could have been a duology and probably would have worked better, and just make the second book be as long as like a normal Dune book, which is like 700 pages, and that would have worked out better. But instead we have like 800 pages because it's 400, 400, or like 300, 400, 400. And I haven't finished the third book yet, but it just felt unnecessary. There's this old Reverend Mother named Lethia, and she's kind of going insane. She makes a lot of prophetic comments, which are relevant because of the next novel being the original Dune novel. They mention a Canely duel because somebody's upset with Leto, which I know there's a comic based off of that, so that's kind of cool. I do like that Shaddam's starting to distrust Leto a lot more, because, of course, Shaddam's mistrust and jealousy of Leto is one reason why the events of the next book, not the next book, but the OG novel happen. But we also contrast to that, see the loyalty that Leto portrays, or even if he doesn't agree with everything that Shaddam does, he believes in the idea of the Imperium. Kind of like, a lot of Americans, myself included, and this might be controversial, I don't think it is, but, like the ideals of America, of like equality for everyone and all that, like the ideal, you get behind whether or not you necessarily agree with every policy or every decision or every leader, that's a different thing, right? But like the ideals of the country, the kind of like the ideals that are kind of abstract that, in practice need to be, better handled, whichever way you see that, he believes in the Imperium in the sense of the overall idea of it, and he knows that Shaddam won't always be emperor. Whether he gets assassinated or he dies of old age, things can change eventually, through the legal means. And so he would never actually betray Shaddam, no matter how much he may disagree with him, which you may think sounds a bit cowardice, and it, I could see where somebody says that, but it's also rather telling of his loyalty to what he believes in, which I guess only makes it harder when you realize that he'll be betrayed in the original novel. Leto goes undercover because Jackson, the rebel leader, really wants Leto on his side, so he decides to go undercover and beat him from the inside. We also know that Yue's wife goes missing in this book, which is important because this is setting up the original novel, and I thought that was kind of cool to kind of get to see his initial reaction to that. And Paul was a girl. Only other thing I had of interest, he keeps getting visions of Chani, because the next big story is the original novel, the movies that are coming out now, and it's a very Catcher in the Rye, if you've ever read that book, sort of situation where she's like a prostitute, and he's like, well, she isn't Chani, or he doesn't know who Chani is, but he's like, it's not the girl in my visions, but she does look a lot like her. So imagine like a Zendaya lookalike, and So he goes into the bedroom with her. But did they have sex? No, they talked for a long time. He talked about her interests, her family, what her life is like. And it's the first time anybody ever tried to actually talk to her about her and not just try to do the deed. So she's like, please come back anytime. He's like, I might take you up on that. He won't, but, because of the events of the next big story arc. But I thought it was kind of cute. Other than that, there's not much here. I know Paul's cool, but he's also like stagnant because his next big character development's gonna happen next time. But yeah, he's smart. He's training to become a good leader. They keep mentioning this War of Assassins, which is nowhere in any of the prequel novels. But what I learned is that in Paul of Dune, which is a sequel to Dune, but also flashbacks to him as a kid, which goes over the War of Assassins. So that's what they're referencing. So I won't actually get to know what that is all about till I read Paul of Dune. But yeah, so Jessica is sent back to hang out with the sisterhood because she's not remembered her loyalty to them because she's too devoted to Leto. So they try to like fix her. And Lethia's also like crazy and kills herself. And like I said, Paul's just kind of around, not doing much. Now, the most interesting stories with Leto and Jackson Rue and the Tylaxu, but there's just not enough of it here. It just kind of feels like a big giant slog. And of course, you got the Baron trying to have Raban and Fade Rotha like kind of start competing with each other, and it's getting closer to the events of the movie, so they're kind of setting those things up. But it's just all in all just kind of boring. It's kind of a snooze, and I don't want to say that because I'm a really big fan of Kevin J. Anderson, and I've been a really big fan of these prequels, but I just and I like Princess of Dune, which is an even more recent release, but that was like a one-off tale. This is just it's I just couldn't enjoy it that much, and it felt like work to get through it. And I have to be honest, when that stuff happens, and that may not be for all of you. You may enjoy it more than I did, but I couldn't get behind it personally. But that's pretty much it. Hopefully, I'll enjoy the finale more than I did this one, but that's just how I'm feeling. But you know, the overall story with Jackson and everything, I am really enjoying. It just feels like it had to get stretched out to a trilogy when I don't feel it was necessary for that. But overall, it was alright. It's not horrible or anything, it's just boring in a lot of parts for me. So that's pretty much it, guys. Sorry to sound disappointed, but I gotta be honest with you with how I feel about stuff. So that's my opinion. Anyway, till next time, guys. Walk with rhythm.